Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living Kabbalah class in a portion of Vayechi. We are in it's a lot of completion, very special class. We are in the month of Capricorn. We're going to have a full moon this week. We are in portion Vayechi, which is the last portion in the book of Genesis. So we're closing and completing and coming to completion in a lot of ways. Closing all patterns, letting go, and things are manifesting this week. Also, we are in a very strong influence of a conjunction. So the conjunction is sending us a lot of energy, a lot of light this week as well. A lot of newness is coming, and a lot of people are actually transitioning. There's a lot of souls that are moving on in this time. I personally want to meditate on Gabriel ben Moshe, who's a friend and who moved on this week. So a lot of things are moving forward. A lot of movement. A lot of things are closing and starting. New things are beginning. So let's start with a meditation, where we can set our mind on the meditation and have an intention for the class. So we can just close our eyes, take a deep breath, exhale slowly. Want to connect to our soul, want to connect to the Creator, want to connect to our spirit. Want to envision ourselves being surrounded by the light, the Creator's unconditional love. Want to dedicate this class to our growth, our evolution, to put an intention to this class. We want to put a direct and clear intention where we want to be better, where and how we want to be more proactive, how we want to be better and greater, where we need more clarity, where we need more certainty, if we need healing, if we need to let go of things. We want this class, the light of this class, to go to those areas in our life and assist us in our journey, in our ability to move forward, our ability to go to our next level and feel the amazing sparks of light that we are. And connect also to energy of life, the true meaning of life, true meaning of the Creator, true meaning of our soul. And I want to start by reading also the Zohar to connect to us to that wavelength of Rabbi Shimon of the Zohar. פתח ואמר, חמה לך הגואל אותי מכל רע, יתמל ויוקמוך, אבל תחזה, כתיב הנה אנוכי שולח מלאך, וגואתך מלאך דייחו פרוקה בעלמא נתירו דבני נשא, וחייכו דזמין ברכן לכל עלמין בגין דייחו נטל לון, קדמיתה ולבטר ייחו הזמין לון, בעלמא ובגין דה כתיב הנה אנוכי שולח המלאך לפניך ושלחתי לפניך מלאך. So we are in the last book of Genesis. We're completing this amazing book, very special book. It's all about preparing, and it's very interesting. The whole book doesn't have any precepts, any direct rules of, do this and don't do that. There's no like precepts in this portion. in the whole book. There's no precepts. It's just how you should conduct, the way you should be. Not simply just rules of like, oh, do this action and do that action, and like the way to eat or what holiday, etc. None of this stuff is mentioned. It's just conduct, proper human conduct of what is the most important. We know that Genesis is connected to energy of Keter. It's the beginning, the seed level. And if a person doesn't have, the most fundamental things placed the right way, quote unquote, it's going to be complicated for them. It's not going to be easy for them. It doesn't matter how many rules you follow, how well you pray, how well you eat kosher, or all these things. If you don't have the most fundamental things, like your understanding of human interaction, your understanding with yourself, your understanding with the light, things are not going to work well. It's just not how it works. And the portion concludes with mentioning of the 17 years that Jacob is living in kind of pure bliss. It's after the 130 years that Jacob lived through, basically constantly having spiritual work to do. He constantly had to either overcome negativity or be more and more proactive, or go through his father-in-law fighting with his brother, losing his favorite son, etc. All these things, and finally he comes to enjoy and really, really live a life of just blessings. That's what the beginning of the portion is, and he lived. We know that the first word of the portion always has a secret, and the secret of this week's portion is lived. So we are really connecting to what is life from a creator's perspective. Just like there's a saying that people are living, but they're really dead inside. And they might be looking like they're functioning and working and doing things on a daily basis. However, they're not really alive. They're not really the definition of what it really means to be alive inside. So in this week is connecting us to what is really life. And if you heard Michael Berg's lecture from his Shabbat, it's unbelievable and I highly recommend it. He talked about that we want to be constantly reaching towards connecting to the source, to the essence of things. Meaning, even my hand, if I'm connecting to my hand, I want to be connecting to the essence of my hand. If I'm connecting to myself, to my soul, I want to be connecting to the essence of my soul. What is the essence of my soul? And the essence of this week is life. What is life? And Jacob spent, like I said, 130 years in very not such easy times. It wasn't easy for him. He went through a lot of difficulty, a lot of challenges, a lot of misfortune, and he finally comes to Egypt to see his son, being the most important person in all of land, in all of Egypt. And he sees him ruling, basically, Egypt. He becomes the ruler of Egypt, and Egypt really means like basically physical reality. Joseph was ruling the entire physical reality at that moment. He comes to Egypt with all his sons, it says with 70 people, which are connected. The 70 people are connected to the 70 nations also that exist. And to the 70 nations. And also he goes to the best place in Egypt to live his life. To live his, basically the last years of him physically being present, he spends here. So, and also the full moon. There is a full moon in the sign of Cancer this week. So a lot of emotions are going to come out, a very emotional time. It's going to happen. It's starting tomorrow night. And it's a time of completion, things of receiving light for free. Just like most of the Kabbalistic connections, they occur on a full moon, like the holiday of Pesach, the holiday of Sukkot. They always happen on a full moon. And right now we're having a full moon. We don't have a specific holiday, but it's a time of receiving light as well. So Jacob is living his last 17 years of his life, and he is basically closing everything and preparing the set for what's about to happen next week. He's also blessing all his sons, all 12 tribes, and he's giving them, it says that the level of prophecy that Jacob, there were two people on this in our world that had the highest level of prophecy. It was Jacob and Moses. And Moses was even almost a little bit higher than Jacob. But this week, Jacob is having the highest level of prophecy that he ever had. It says it's called the shining mirror. And it's the shining mirror. What is prophecy? It's when you understand cause and effect on such a deep level that you literally see insights into the future. You're having prophetic prophecy, basically. You're just like seeing the future of what's going to happen. He's also laying the foundation for what's about to happen, what's going to start next week. And what's going to start next week, the process is called Shovadim, which is the time when we're elevating all the lost sparks that we've ever lost in this life and past life. Any time, we're going to be able to elevate them. By the way, anyone who is interested in asking a question or a comment or what you're feeling this week, or if something is not clear, please feel free. So both, it's actually, what's interesting is actually both Jacob and Joseph both leave this world in this week's portion. And they obviously both had amazing lives, and they, they accomplished a lot. They basically created something for humanity that we're still benefiting from. And what's interesting, it says Jacob didn't die. Yaakov lo met. That he's not actually, excuse me, that he's not actually dead. And it tells us hints of what is life and death. And we know when we study in Kabbalah too about the process of reincarnation, that there is no such thing really as death, right? And if there's no such thing as death, there's no such thing as really birth. It's the same thing. So as much as we think, oh, somebody's new is born, actually they existed for a very long time. It's just that they decided to come into this world and to go through a process of evolution, to go through an elevation of consciousness, to have Earth is like a playfield where you can come and you can play here. You don't want to be too serious in this realm. You don't want to be too connected to it. The more attachment we have to physicality, to things working out a certain way, the way we see them that they should work out, the harder life is. The more at ease we are, the more at ease I am with how things are going, with what happens, taking things with ease and understanding that things happen not always the way we want them to, right? We really want to understand that. Life doesn't always happen the way we want it to. So what do you do? What do you do when life doesn't happen the way you want it to? Right? That's a great question, because probably only 0.001% of people that ever lived this world were okay with just the way life was, right? And were enjoyed just because they're alive. But most of us, kind of the definition of life is difficulty. Obviously, I don't believe this I don't believe it on a daily basis, but most of us, when we go through life, we say, there's difficult points in life. There were some points in life that are not so pleasant, or that wasn't the best part of my life. That segment of my life, if it was different, it would be better. Or regretting things, right? Saying things I should have done different. That could have been better. I could have been better, etc. Things like resentment, regret about the past, about ourselves, about certain events, about actions, is what is separating me from living the life that I am worthy of living. So the biggest separation between me and the energy of life is not forgiving, is regretting, right? Regret is one of the biggest blockages that we ever have in our life. Not letting go of people that moved on. A lot of people, they grieve for a very long time about somebody that passed. There's a special time. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be feeling the emotions, right? We feel emotions, and that's obviously something that's part of life. And you should not be in denial of your emotions, right? If you're feeling a certain way, you need to be honest with yourself, right? And a lot of people avoid emotions, and we say, no, everything's okay. Some people, there's few reactions, just like the 3 Fs, right, that we have in the reactive system: the flight, fight, and freeze. So you can either fight it, you can either freeze from it, or you can run away from it. So we don't want to be in those 3 Fs, especially with our emotions. And because your emotions are like winds, they're kind of telling you of what's happening, but it doesn't mean you should be completely operating based on whatever is happening in your emotional state. That's why we have the mind. And when we combine the two, the mind and the heart, that's when we're able to function in the best way. Because a lot of times our heart and our emotions are going to tell us things that are not true. And a lot of times our mind is trying to avoid us from looking within and looking into our emotions. And the time that we're in right now, we really want to be honest with ourselves. So are we fully letting go of everything in the past that we considered unfair, that we considered as something that was done against us? Something that, think of an event. I was actually meditating last night, and I came up on an event of my life that I was like, oh, that's so painful, that's so unfair, that shouldn't have happened. That, why did they do that to me? And then, and I can't be honest that I fully moved on from it. Hopefully after this class I'll be better. But it wasn't like I was like, oh, that's amazing, wow, what a great event that happened, right? So that means that I'm still in the process of elevating in that step, in that scenario. And the more aware I am of what's really happening, the better. That's another thing. Is to be alive is to be very present of where you are right now. Being present, it means that I am accepting, I'm sober, I'm fully understanding of where I am, what's happening, and what process I'm going through in my life. Whether it is healing from a certain event, letting go, moving on from a relationship, moving into starting a new relationship, etc. We have many, many different scenarios in our life that we constantly go through. But we really want to be present. To be present and to be honest with yourself is priceless. When you are fully present in wherever it is that you're doing, you're going to make sure that you're going to reveal the most light you can possibly reveal. Jacob was never in a state of denial. He wasn't running from his brother and telling himself, oh, everything is so great. No, he was honest with himself. So, wow, that's a pretty terrible situation that I have to run from my brother because he wants to literally kill me on the spot. He lost his son and he wasn't in denial. He wasn't in denial and saying, oh, this is so happy, I'm so glad, He was sad for 17 years. For 17 years, he was in mourning. And it says that almost divine inspiration was not as present with him. The Shekhinah was not as present with him as it was before when he was in sadness. Joseph was very honest with himself, right? It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be happy, by the way. You can be both very honest, experiencing the pain, experiencing the difficulty, experiencing the doubt, experiencing the lack, and at the same time be in a state of joy. That's not a contradiction. We are not linear beings. That means I'm not just one thing. I'm not just whatever is happening right now. I can be multiple things. I can constantly create myself with so many different ways. I can say, yes, you know what? I don't like that. But it doesn't mean I'm going to label it as a horrendous event and this is something horrible. It is what it is, and this is how it is, and we'll work through that. That was actually part of Joseph. Like, he was in a very difficult situation. He was very honest with himself, but he didn't let the situation weigh him down. He didn't let the situation make him feel as if that's the only thing that's happening. A difficult situation happens, and it wasn't like, okay, that's it, it's the end of the world. It's like the great quote. I love Monica Berg uses that quote. I'm not sure where she got it from, but you are not the last thing that you have done or that you've experienced or the last thing that has happened. You are endless things. You're all the things that have ever happened. And really, you are what you determine to be, which is another amazing, such an incredible idea and concept, or something very relevant this week also, is that you are constantly recreating yourself. Think about that. Think about it, that you are simply your own creation. I am constantly my own creation. It means I am the one who's determining what has happened in the past, what's happening right now, and what could happen in the future. I am the determining factor, nothing else. Nothing else around me that will determine, that will dictate and tell me that this is what's happening or something else that's happening. I am the determining factor. And another beautiful thing about it is that you can constantly change it. That's the consciousness of the Rav. Like our teacher, Rav Berg, he was in constant transformation. He could transform into whatever he needs to be at a split of a second. At a split of a second, he was a father. At a split of a second, he was the greatest teacher of all time. At the split of a second, he was the greatest Kabbalist of all time. At the split of a second, he was the greatest husband. At the split of a second, he was just a friend. At the split of a second, he was a grandfather. Whatever it was, the scenario, he was constantly recreating and constantly being present, not avoiding things that are happening. So it's a beautiful place to be. It's called Mati Velo Mati, this term, and we'll meditate on it later, but it's something that you should remember. This is a very deep, very important Kabbalistic term, Mati Velo Mati, meaning here and not here. And it comes from 10 Luminous Emanations of Rav Ashlag, where he talks about the light. And he says, if you remember again from Kabbalah 1, that the Creator's light didn't really disappear anywhere. There is as much endless light right now in front, within, around me, and same thing with you, as there was an endless, meaning endless amount of fulfillment, continuous endless amount of fulfillment. Yet we might not be feeling it. So that's what it means, two places at the same time, or here and not here. I am experiencing all the light, and I'm also not experiencing all the light. I could be experiencing, the most amazing event in my life, and I could be saying, you know what, I constantly want more. I'm not settling for less. Just because I'm experiencing this amazing thing, how does it get any better? Or how else can I be experiencing light? How else can I elevate my consciousness? So Mati Velo Mati. Not being linear, not being one-dimensional, being multi-dimensional beings, meaning I can experience the difficulty and also I can experience the greatest event that ever happened in my life. I can experience deep sadness and sorrow, but at the same time be very joyful. It's not a contradiction. All of us can be in two places at the same time. That's one of the highest levels of consciousness that a human being can be in, actually. That you are never too much into a process. That you're never too much, you're both in a process and at the same time you're determining how you want that process to be. Meaning it's my decision to make it whatever it is that I want to make it. I can make it, again, if I'm going through a difficult process, go through the difficult process, but in the back of your mind, have a reminder that, you know what, everything is for the great, everything is for amazing, everything is amazing. There cannot be long-lasting negativity in this world. That's not the essence of this world. The only negativity that exists is the one that we create. Somebody moves on from this world, right? To us, the limited consciousness, the assumption is that this person is not here anymore. That's obviously the biggest trick of Satan, of telling us that somebody's not here. Really, they moved on to their next level, whether it be waiting upstairs or to their next incarnation, whatever it is that they might be going through, they are constantly existing. They never disappear. Every single human being on this planet, they never disappear. People that, for who it's hard to let go of that, they're obviously going to have a harder time to live. But people that understand that people move on and they exist forever and there's no such thing as death, it's going to be much easier for them. So where are we? How do you know where you are? How do you know where you are and not to be in denial? Because that's not what we want to be. We don't want to be in a state of denial, of fooling ourselves, of telling ourselves, oh, everything is, in such a bad place, but really it's amazing. Or really telling ourselves the opposite. Everything is so amazing and things are not great. How do you find that balance? How do you find this, golden line? How do you find this beautiful restriction point? So it's really something that you can only do with yourself. It's really checking in with yourself and seeing what's really happening with me. This essential time of quiet time of meditation when each and every single one of us needs to take before going to sleep, or when you wake up, when you reflect upon yourself and when you look within and you start asking yourself, okay, so what am I going through right now? What's happening in my life? What kind of questions do I have? What kind of needs do I have? What kind of requests do I have to the Creator? What am I working on? What is my next level? Where can I be more proactive? Where can I be greater? In what area of my life can I be greater? Where can I be more supportive for people? Where can I be more compassionate? Where can I be more kind? Am I being fully kind with myself? One of the most essential things that, every relationship is really beginning with a relationship with yourself, right? If I am kind and compassionate to myself, then I can be kind and compassionate to other people also. If I'm not, then it's not genuine. It's not real. It's not going to be a real care. It's not going to be real compassion, because compassion is a consciousness, is a energy. So if I'm carrying the consciousness and energy of compassion, it's going to fill every single aspect of my life. It's going to fill every interaction that I have, everything that happens. That's what the energy of, by the way, the Torah reading is on Shabbat. It's energy of compassion. It's energy of creating such strong mercy for us and for our people around us that you create this, this bubble, right? This bubble of protection around us, because that's what compassion is also. The true nature of physical reality and nature is harshness. It doesn't mean it's bad, but that's how it is. The more I can connect my consciousness to the light force of the Creator, to the tree of life reality, the more compassion I'm going to have. That's one of the closest attributes of the light that we have in this physical reality, is compassion, is me feeling something for other people and also doing something about it. It's not just being, oh, I feel so bad for them. That's very nice. It's nice that you're feeling that way, but it doesn't help. It's also the understanding that no matter what is happening, no matter how difficult it is, something can be done. And you're asking yourself a proactive question: what can I do in this situation? Right? How can I reveal light in this situation? How can I be more proactive in this situation? If your partner is doing something that you don't like, that you don't enjoy, how can you do something about it? How can you be more proactive about it? Is it maybe telling them in a very nice, compassionate way, telling them and expressing how you feel and what you're going through? Maybe that's it. Maybe it's looking in and seeing if you're doing the same thing, right? There are many different levels. And but the energy of compassion is something that each and every single human being that comes into this world is asked to work on, right? As we said, whenever a human soul enters this physical reality, it's like a playfield, right? And there's certain attributes that we want to develop, meaning qualities, character traits. And there's some fundamental ones that almost everyone needs to work on. And then each one has personal ones that you came to work on. And it's a beautiful time of self-discovery, right? When you discover that, wow, you know what? These situations in my life are just happening to help me develop this quality in myself, this quality of compassion, this quality of commitment, responsibility, focus, empathy, wisdom, telepathy, whatever it is. There's so many different attributes of it we come to develop. But compassion is very essential. Compassion is very, very important. It's also the energy of Shekhinah. The energy of Shekhinah is the energy of compassion, meaning you don't, when something happens to another person or ourselves, we don't go into the mindset of thinking, oh, that it's happening to them because of this. That's why it's happening to them. They are going through this difficult time because you know what they did and they're that kind of people, so that's why it's happening to them. That's called criticism and judgment. That's something that you want to avoid completely. It's not serving you, not serving anyone. It's a very low vibrational energy of criticism towards yourself. Also, if you're going through a difficult time and you tell yourself, oh, you know, this is my payback, that's what I deserve, that's what I get. Criticism, don't want to connect to that. Criticism in general in spirituality is a big, 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 big no. Big no. Complete disconnection from the light. The light force doesn't have energy of criticism. When he's criticizing and telling you, oh, it's your stupidity that brought you to this place. If everything happened in our world for cause and effect, really, we wouldn't exist. There would be no human race. Not a single human being would survive the energy of judgment if everything was for eye for an eye, an ear for an ear, and a hand for a hand. It would not exist. We would be destroyed instantaneously. The amount of judgmental thoughts that we have, the amount of actions, judgmental actions that we do, we wouldn't exist. The essence of reality, the essence of how the Creator made this universe is based on mercy, chasadim, or chesed, or compassion, more simply put in an English word. And the more I practice and develop my compassion, now compassion is also not passive. It's not a passive trait. It's not like, oh, I'm just going to be more compassionate. I'm just going to feel their pain and I hope they'll feel better. No, compassion is when you can actually do something about it, and you can always do something about it. For example, when I experience thoughts of judgment towards other people, very practical thing. Every single one of us experiences it, right? You look at other people and you're like, oh my God, they are so dumb. They are so stupid. Or thinking, oh, what are they thinking about me? Oh my God, what are they thinking about me, right? That's like the beginning of reactivity starts in your head, right? That's where the beginning of everything is. So another thought that beautiful idea and concept of understanding how can you be more proactive on your thought level. So the moment we're going to come back to compassion and everything and being present more and more, but I just want to go into this idea of judging people. So when I judge people, obviously it's not something that we want to practice. It's criticism usually. Criticism and judgment are very close. When I'm judging people, it means I'm being critical also. Criticism, avoid. You want to avoid it as much as possible. Do not connect, do not practice, do not entertain ideas of criticism. It's not something that's good for you. So what happens when a thought comes and you're like, oh my God, those people are so stupid and they are just so dumb and they always make these mistakes, etc. So what's a proactive thing? First of all, be aware, catch yourself. Proactive formula, right? Proactive formula, reminder, the most incredible spiritual tool that we have, a restriction, which is taking a pause. Just taking a pause and saying, okay, Creator, what should I do in this situation, right? So I saw a question, Marina, I'll get to it in 1 second. I just want to finish this. So when something, when a thought of judgment comes towards us, you want to fully understand that I'm going through this and I'm judging, I'm being judgmental. It's okay. To catch yourself, to be aware, that's the key. Next step, I want to think and meditate. You know what? I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to send them. What's the opposite of them being, for example, if they're stupid? I'm going to meditate that they have more wisdom. I'm going to meditate that these people actually have more wisdom. That's what I'm going to meditate on. I'm going to stop thinking about how they are, what they are, how stupid, etc. they are. And I'm going to think, you know what? Light, send them light of wisdom. I wish them more light of wisdom. If somebody's going through, if somebody has a relationship that we don't think is right, we're looking at them and we're like, oh my God, what are they doing? Like, you know what? I'm going to meditate and send them energy of soulmates. I'm going to send them energy of soulmates. I hope they have a better relationship and I hope they have energy of soulmates. If somebody is very rich and we see them using their wealth for not a good reason, we want to meditate. First of all, have them, send them energy of wealth, of beneficence and benevolence and, you know, increase, etc., and also charitableness. And I hope they understand how to use their charitableness. Somebody's beautiful, somebody's good looking, we don't want to judge them. We want to say, you know what, I hope that everyone that looks at them connects with a light of a creator. So things change so quickly once you start doing that, when you avoid reaction on the beginning level, right? Because the reactivity, it ends with a physical reaction usually, it ends with physical action, but it begins in your mind, it begins in your consciousness. It has to. Consciousness is everything, as the Rav says, meaning the consciousness is the beginning of everything in your life, right? So whatever it is that you see someone lacking, you should meditate and say a little prayer. You know, like prayer is not necessarily sitting with a book and, you know, shaking your head, etc. Prayer can be an instantaneous thought. Thoughts are more powerful than any real prayers. A true thought from the heart. So again, the moment I'm experiencing judgment, think of it. Understand, okay, what am I judging this person? What am I criticizing this person for? And send them the opposite light. There's obviously a deeper way of, if a situation continuously bothers you, you can use this as an opportunity to look within and say, okay, so why is this bothering? What's really the issue with it? Don't instantaneously try to come to a conclusion also. Spiritual growth is like learning how to walk. You don't learn to walk. A baby doesn't learn how to walk in a day. It takes some time. So give yourself time also to grow spiritually. Have these ideas, plant these ideas. Right now what we're doing is we're planting ideas in our consciousness that will blossom into beautiful experiences later in our life. But this is the step. This is how you want to do it. This is the roadmap of what you want to have. Criticism, complete avoidance. Compassion is the way to go. But compassion always includes action. And compassion, you need to be practicing it with yourself as well. If you are not practicing compassion with yourself, it's not going to be possible for you to practice it with other people. And compassion, it's very simple things, by the way. It could be from eating healthy to exercising to reading something good to journaling to meditating. It's simple things. But there has to be self-care. If you do not have self-care, you know, the number one sign of that loses the ability to take care of, that loves to take care of other people, but completely avoids taking care of themselves is Pisces, right? They're all about taking care of another person and in complete avoidance of what they need to do, right? Which is not balanced, which is not something that you want to do. You want to be balanced. You want to make sure that you understand that I need to take care of myself in order to be able to help another person. Just like I love this example in airplanes, you know, God forbid when they do the intro of safety, first put the mask on yourself and then put it on another person. First, you need to make sure that you're functioning, and then you can help others. And that's also connecting us with the idea that we're vessels, that we are beings of desire, etc. But so let's get to Marina had a question and I wanted to see. Okay, that's a great question. So the question is, when someone hurts you and being very disrespectful to you, what do you do? So that's a great question. So obviously, anytime there's crossing of line of physical abuse, that's never, ever accepted. Never. Once physical abuse or any physical way starts to happen, that's not acceptable, period. Now, when somebody is being directly disrespectful to you, there should be an immediate notice to them that this is what's happening, and that they are clear that they are disrespecting you, and express your emotions. Last week's Facebook Live with Julia was about confrontation. It's an amazing live that we did. If you haven't heard it, I highly recommend it. It's about confronting and a lot about expressing how you feel without the expectation of them changing. So first thing you want to do is tell them, do you understand that this is hurting me? Do you understand that this is disrespectful to me, and you're being unkind, and you're being, etc. Right? Really fully express yourself in a proactive way, and let them know that you're being disrespectful to me. You are not considering me. I do not appreciate this behavior. And if it doesn't stop, we're not going to interact anymore. So you need to be very clear. It needs to be very clear to the other person. That's from last week a lot also about the portion of how Judah confronted Joseph, right? Where Joseph was being difficult on the brothers, and Judah confronted him and said, why are you torturing us? Why are you being so, harsh on us? And that's when they had a huge breakthrough. So whenever there's something that you're going through, don't hold it in. If this is what you're experiencing, be very clear that this is what's happening. And if a person doesn't stop, you need to that's what's called a toxic person. Right? That's what toxicity is, when the person is so negative, so much in their criticism, so much in their judgment, such avoidance and lack of any spirituality whatsoever, that they're starting to post it on other people. It's a very low state of consciousness that people are in. And it's a sign for you that you need to tell them, you need to give them a warning. Usually it's better, by the way, whenever you confront anyone, it should be done one-on-one, first of all. If a person doesn't listen, then you can do it with other people, or you can also just tell them, it's best for us not to interact. It's best for us. I don't want this energy in my life. I don't want this behavior, this consciousness, these, whatever it is, these feelings. And I prefer for both of us to avoid any contact in order for us not to experience this. Because I know it's not good for me. And let's say, don't go into spirituality. It's not good for you also. It's not that, no, you don't want that. You just want to very simply tell them that you're not interested in any interaction. Very simple. It could be even one sentence. I'm not interested in any of interaction right now. Thank you. And that's it. Just like if you're dating someone and you do, kind of don't ghost them, but just say thank you, but I'm not interested. It's much better that way. So it was a lot. Let me know, by the way, if something is not clear and want to talk about more, something is not clear. Questions are great, because to me, I assume that you guys are understanding, but if something's not clear, you can just mention it. So we talked about being present, being very open with your emotions. This is very connected to this week. Again, I really wanted to be clear about what this week is about. It's so much completion, so much closing, so much like closing learned lessons. When you go through a certain life experience or through challenges, there has to be, the ending point is the closing of needing to learn this lesson. Okay, so like for example, like what Marina said, she's going through an experience. I'm assuming, Marina, I don't know, maybe you're just asking a theoretical question, but the question was, if somebody's being disrespectful to us, right? So what's the lesson in that? What's the lesson for me? Obviously, you still do that, but you still tell them, back off. I'm not interested. If you continue this way, we're closing connections. We're closing bridges. I'm not interested in that. Thank you, bye. Okay, that's obvious. But we also can look in and see, okay, what's the life lesson in this? What life lesson am I complete? What can I complete? What kind of life lesson that I came into this world to complete can I complete in this? Is it pleasing other people? Is being too dependent on other people? I'm not saying, by the way, it's not connected to this. I'm saying in general, what kind of life lessons? Is it life lesson of respecting myself? Is it life lesson of loving myself? Is it life lesson of being compassionate? By the way, this action, what I just said, of doing to people that are disrespectful, is being compassionate to yourself. creating a shield of compassion that does not let toxic people into it. That's it. So completion, Vayechi, Malchut of Keter, the complete closing of the book of Genesis, the Malchut of Keter, closing all these lessons, closing all these experiencings. So much energy is coming from the conjunction right now. So much energy is going to be revealed on the full moon tomorrow night. A lot of emotions. It's the moon, and the moon is going to be in a sign of Cancer. It's the ultimate feeler. It feels everything. It's one of the most sensitive signs, and it's one of the most sensitive moons also that exist. It's not the most stable moon. It means it's the emotional state of Cancer moons are not always consistent. They can be different, but it's very open. It's very psychic. It's very it's the state of a vessel, actually. The real most strongest sign of a vessel is the sign of Cancer, because it's the very, very Malchut energy. And also Capricorn is very Malchut energy. Both of them are very Malchut energy. So it's a lot of completion of emotions. It's a lot of internal strength also, internal kind of backbone, kind of telling yourself, this is how it's going to be. This is how it is, and that's it. And being able to let go of things that don't work, right? Because example of people that are negative to us, a lot of times we're like, oh no, I don't want to be rude to them. I don't want to be disrespectful. They don't mean it. They're better than that. Right? We all go through that. We all feel those things. But in reality, we need to be tough sometimes. We need to be strong within. And we need to tell other people, you know what? I'm not sorry. You shouldn't be sorry for it. I'm not interested in that. I'm not interested in that energy. I don't want that energy in my life. I don't want this talk in my life. I don't want this disrespect. I don't want any of this in my life, especially if it's difficult for you. Definitely if it's difficult for you. Should go right in and tell them right away. So energy of completion, energy of being present, being very present in my life, being present with myself, making sure I take time every day to close my eyes and to really go through whatever is happening in my life. What am I experiencing? What's happening in my life? What is the Creator trying to teach me? What is the Creator trying to show me? What am I ready to learn? What am I ready to close? What am I ready to move on from? What am I ready to let go of? What am I ready to take upon? What kind of interesting responsibility and exciting new project am I ready to take upon? Whatever it is, but you need to take this time within. It's essential. That's part of spirituality. Spirituality is not just studying. It's taking the time of what you learn, taking this information, processing it, and using it for internal growth, right? It's like, whatever analogy you want to use, like sifting flour and then adding water to it and making bread eventually, right? That's the process of spirituality. The dough is the wisdom, but you need to mix it, you need to sift it, you need to understand how it applies to me. I need to mix it with water, I need to knead it, and then I need to wait for it, etc. And then all these processes, and it will eventually turn into this magical thing that's called bread, right? Same thing in spirituality. It takes time. It takes effort. It takes restriction. It takes sifting for us to understand what am I going through and what can I learn from it, right? So completion, being present with whatever I'm experiencing, right? And again, this time of when I look within, that's when I can be very present with myself. Okay, being honest with yourself also. And for some people it's easy, for some people it's not. Go from wherever you are. And the energy of compassion, right? The energy of compassion that right now we are lacking in the universe. I see someone raise their hand. I'll get to you in a second. I see there is a natural lack of energy of compassion. That's what it means that there's no Shekhinah. There's 3 months of a year if you've been a student for a while, you know that there's 3 months for Kabbalists in a year when the force that's called Shekhinah, or the protective shield, is not present. We are in one of them. What it practically means is that there's no natural, as much compassion as there naturally is. It's a little bit more judgmental right now. The energy of the month is a little bit instantaneous. Things happen at the moment, like boom, 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 boom. You know, like something, you do something, a result right away, etc. A lot of souls moving on also again. But the way to counter that, obviously, you know, I'm not even going to go into that. You need to scan Zohar. That's just obvious. I hope that's not what this class is about. This class is about that you do your, you aim for 30 minutes of Zohar a day. That's not a question. If you don't, you know, you're not fueling your car enough with energy. I'm talking about how else to operate. What do you do when you scan Zohar? You want to meditate on these things. I want to awaken more mercy, more compassion, be more and more compassionate. This idea of compassion, we're going to do a meditation about it now to really awaken more and more compassion. Okay, so I think Michael or Edita Bach had a question. If you want, I'm going to unmute you. If you want to say something, feel free.
What happened? Okay, I unmuted myself. Hello, Michael?
Yes, now we hear you.
Yeah. Okay. Basically, I want to talk about the fact that go back to if somebody disrespects you, whether it's your mate or it's your co-worker, it doesn't matter who. You're in a situation, and obviously, who brought you into that situation? That means the light brought you into this situation for whatever reason, correct?
And
That
yourself,
you are,
right? Because we pick
yeah,
our life scenario.
yourself. Yeah, so if that's the case, that means it's part of your tikkun and the other person's tikkun. If we're both involved in that conversation,
Yeah.
or that person is negative. So the question is, if that's the case and you do your work and you basically confront them and do everything that's needed, do you do part of your tikkun at that time?
Yes, definitely, definitely, definitely. Because part of everyone's tikkun and part of tikkun in general is to be a little bit stronger, is to be more better with boundaries, right? Boundaries is, we don't want to mention this word enough, but boundaries is something that's essential in life, and it's obviously in spirituality. And setting healthy boundaries is one of the lessons that is long-term lessons that we're learning of how to develop inequality. And when you're telling them, when you're first of all telling them, setting in boundaries with them and telling them, listen, this is not acceptable and I'm not going to accept this anymore. This is, you're setting a boundary right now. Okay. Or you're, at least you're starting conversation also. But you're letting them know that this kind of energy is not going to be allowed in my field anymore. Right? It's just not going to be allowed. Thank you, but I'm not interested. You can offer it to somebody else. So the tikkun is definitely with setting boundaries. It's the second line of Ana Bekoach. If you want to meditate, being stronger, being more, closing your energy field, etc. But it's 100% tikkun, 100% tikkun. And also look at tikkun as a word of evolution. How am I evolving in this? And if it feels, look within and try to see what feels lighter and what feels heavier. If something feels, learn to use your intuition more and more. So whenever you feel like, what is lighter, to communicate with this person, to go into this talk more and more, to allow them to say whatever they want to say to you, or to close them off and set boundaries. So look within, like have your own compass, have your own ability to identify, okay, what's the lighter thing to do, what's the heavier thing to do. Okay. And in general, it's a great way of feeling how, to make decisions. But yes, when somebody's being that way, when somebody's being disrespectful, when somebody's being negative, when somebody's not being nice to you, and it's in your life, it's definitely your tikkun to again, not necessarily like confront them in a negative way, but to express how you feel. You do not, the essential number one thing to do in any confrontation is that you do not expect the other person to change. That's their decision.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
no
That's
problem.
great.
But that's a
Thank you.
great, I'll mute you, but I'm going to continue on that. That it's a great, great idea that, I'm going to repeat it again because it's so important to remember and to realize for everyone, for me, for everyone, that confrontation or when you're communicating with someone, the idea is not to force them to change, not to convince them to change. If you have that intention, you're not doing the right thing. You want to be open with how you're feeling. You want to express what's happening inside of you, what happened to you because of what they did. And you're not blaming them. You're not being the victim. You're not saying that it's their fault. You're just sharing your emotions and you're telling them, I don't appreciate that anymore. I'm not interested in that anymore. I don't welcome that anymore. And I just don't want that anymore. And after that, that you can have a good conversation. But if you're going to a conversation with goal of telling them you're smart and they're stupid, not gonna work. You have a goal of making them do something differently, not gonna work. You want to have a conversation. You always want to talk. If it depends on the people, obviously there's people that you don't even want to talk to and you just want to set boundaries with them and tell them you are not allowed to behave this way with me, around me, etc. Whatever you do on your time, you do whatever you want. That's your decision. With me, this is not allowed. Okay, so thank you, and that's it. And a lot of people in spirituality, a lot of times when we start to grow, when we start to evolve, if people around us are not on the same wavelength, are not interested in growth and self-development, etc., it might be that our contact is not going to be that strong. It's not going to be that exciting. It's not going to be that interesting. That's why, thank God, like on whoever's in our chat is appreciating the community, because the community is like-minded people that you can go to and tell them and have at least more of a spiritual conversation where it can be a little bit more using the wisdom that you've learned. If a person has absolutely none of that, or some people actually, it's also some people can be 30 years in spirituality and still not grow and not learn some lessons if they don't have the right intention. So again, it's individual, but definitely setting boundaries. It's essential. Setting boundaries, expressing how you feel without the expectation of the other person doing something. That's huge. That's really big that you want to come to. Try to, before you go into a conversation or a talk or a confrontation, try to understand where am I coming from? What's my intention really? Am I trying to prove them that they're stupid and that they're wrong? And to tell them, oh, you are just an imbecile and you're just stupid and you don't know how to live your life. Is that the goal of your conversation? Better not to have it. There's no point. Why? Who asked you? Did they come to you and ask you that they need this feedback? No, you could maybe ask them, what, I have some amazing feedback in my opinion, but that's not really how you want to have a conversation. What you do want to do is express how I feel, how it made you feel, and not expect them to change instantaneously. That's also not important. Have a conversation, hear them out. What do they have to say? Maybe they don't realize. It also could be. It also could be there's some scenarios that some people are acting a certain way towards us, and because we don't express how we feel because of that, they don't even know. Everyone is so different. Everyone is so different. We have the amount of people that are listening to this class right now, the amount of people that will listen to this class. The amount of people equals the amount of points of view and the amount of information that they get. Every single person has a different point of view, right? There's no such thing as everyone having the same point of view on everything. As many people, 7 billion people in this world, 7 billion universes. Literally, every single human being is a different universe. So it's a crazy thought to think about, right? How many universes exist in our world? How many universes do you interact with? How many universes are you responsible for? Not responsible, but provide energy for. Just a quick note, the people that do study spirituality, they bring and draw a lot of light of the Creator into this world, right? They bring a lot of love, a lot of compassion, a lot of abundance, and the people that are around them actually benefit from that. People that are around them actually benefit and receive energy from that. So it's a beautiful thought to think about also when you study prayers in the Kabbalistic, from Rabbi Yitzhak Luria, he explains how the light of the endless flows from the endless to the person that is revealing the light that they're revealing. And he shares that there's at least 5 worlds between us and the endless, right? Always. And the more the person reveals light, beings on the upper planes actually start to be dependent on you. And it's a beautiful interaction that that we start to have with them. They depend on us for that light because no one can reveal light like human beings can. None of beings in the upper worlds, no one can reveal as much light as a human being because none of the beings have freedom of will. We're the only ones that have freedom of will. So when we share and shine light, that draws light from the endless to our physical reality and provides light on its way to us, to everyone around on that path. Now, also, all those beings are like, wait a minute, this is a good guy. He's providing so much light for him. What we're going to do with the light that we receive is we're going to support him. That's what we're going to do. So it starts to have this beautiful back and forth. They're supporting you and you're supporting them. I had a very deep realization of this once when I meditate every day, at least 40 minutes, pray, meditate, etc. And then one time I had this idea that I'm just being too religious. There's just too much prayers. I'm just doing and I'm just like, no, I'm not doing it anymore. That's it. And the thought that I had when I started it, I'm like, there's beings that depend on me. There's people that depend on me for the abundance of the light that I reveal. It's not just for me, it's for other people also. So I should be considerate to them. So each and every single one of us, when we do our connections, meditations, Ana Bekoach, 72 names, Zohar, etc., we're not just feeding ourselves or our inner circle, we're feeding a whole universe, right? Okay, so unless someone has a question or wants to delve into something deeper, that was a great question. Highly appreciate both of them. So again, quick points of review: being present, being alive, being compassionate, being truthful, being in both places at the same time. We can be in both places. There's no such thing. There's no black or white. You can be in both places at the same time. Don't ever think that it's this way and no other way. Healthy boundaries, and a huge revelation of light this week. So much light is coming to us this week, starting tomorrow night, and taking it back home, as I like to say, meaning taking whatever it is that you've learned and not just saying, oh, I took a great class, but going into it. What does it mean for me? What is my takeaway? Enjoy the ability of having spiritual friends, the blessing, the biggest blessing of having spiritual friends, and go into this conversation. What does it mean for me? What did I get from this lesson? What did I get from this experience? What does it mean to me? Do I have these kind of relationships where I allow people to be disrespectful to me? What should I do? Just be open with it. Be light with it. Be light. Don't be like, oh my God, I have to tell them. How am I going to confront them? No. Relax. Be light. Be easy. Be easy. Be easy. Okay. So, and the meditation that we really want to do is to awaken compassion, to awaken this amazing, incredibly important attribute. There is an angel in the upper worlds who is the angel of compassion. We're going to connect to that angel now also. The law of compassion, it's called also. The kind of the ozone layer of the bumper that soothes the amount of light that comes into this world, so to make sure it's balanced. And we're going to receive downloads of how to be compassionate. What is compassion? How to be compassionate to other people, how to be compassionate to ourselves, how to be compassionate to the environment, how to be compassionate to everything and everyone around us. Okay. So again, the meditation is very simple. There's really just letting go. That's what meditation really is. So you want to close your eyes. You want to be as relaxed as possible. Relax every single part of your body. from your head, your skull, your facial muscles, your neck, shoulders, chest, back, abdomen, hands, feet, legs, thighs, buttocks, your spine, all your internal organs to be completely relaxed and in total synchronicity with each other. And you want to feel complete. You want to feel a total sense of completion. You are whole. Nothing is missing. Nothing was ever missing. Nothing will ever be missing. You're a complete and totally whole being. And you want to envision yourself being surrounded by this endless light. Try to imagine yourself being completely surrounded by light. And the light is pearl-like color, with a beautiful shine. You want to kind of disappear and melt into this energy. Melt into this light, melt into this energy, and become completely unified with it. What Kabbalah is called thoguhts. You want to experience it completely. Just try to be in that space for a while. Try to be in this flawless existence. It actually always exists, never disappears. It's available to us anytime we need it, any second that we need it, we can access it with our consciousness. And we're also gonna call upon and meet the law of compassion, which in spiritual terms looks like a beautiful pink cloud. Actually, pink is a color of compassion, a pink mist. So, if with your permission, if you want, we're gonna invite the light and the energy of the angel and the law of compassion to our meditation. If you want that, say yes. And I want to kind of experiencing this pink cloud coming to you. And it's starting to get closer to you, and then you're in this pink cloud. And in this pink cloud, everything is so light. You are so light. Everything around you is light. Everything around you is so easy. You feel so much compassion, so much support, so much love and kindness. You fully feel that everything is amazing. Everything was perfect. Everything is perfect. Everything will be perfect. You're feeling like a child held by its mom, by its mother, protected, cared for. And we want to ask the law of compassion to be with us always, to teach us how to be more compassionate, to teach us what is true compassion, just to be open to it, to open our eyes, to open our mind's eyes and our heart's eyes to it. And let this light of compassion heal us from inside, heal our wounds. And what we're experiencing is really the light of the Creator. I want to express our love, our appreciation for the Creator. Revisualize yourself in this cloud again. Remember moments of when you were a kid and everything was so perfect. Everything was just so right. This is when you were touching upon this energy also. And again, what we really want to receive from this experience is to learn what it means to be compassionate. What is Creator's definition of compassion? How to be compassionate. How to live every second of my life with compassion. Towards myself, towards other people, towards the environment, towards the whole human race, towards the planet. And if you want that, just say yes. And we also want to send this energy, this beautiful, beautiful energy, to whoever needs it. If we think of anyone that's going through a time where they need a little bit more support, a little bit more love, a little bit more compassion, think of them and send them this light. But then again, bring yourself back to this energy. Don't get too lost in the processes. Bring yourself up into this pink mist of this lightness, of this easiness, of this beautiful, beautiful naivety also. And we want to thank the law of compassion. We want to set a new, we can say, contract, a new connection with this law, that we're interacting with it, that we're open to its support, open to its guidance, open to its love, open to its support. And whenever you're ready, you want to envision yourself by being surrounded by the light force of the Creator, a beautiful pearl-like energy. Then you want to rinse yourself in this energy, fill yourself up with it again. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Hey everyone, welcome back. Thank you for joining. I'm gonna see you live next week. We have a class as usual. And if anyone, one second, I'm gonna stop the recording.